All right, Shane, let's get into it with the Vanderbilt Commodores. Cap this fall camp preview special here with Clark Lea's group, Shane. And, quick recap of last season. You got to remember where this program was at, Shane. They didn't win a single conference game the first year. They lost every game by an average of 20 points in conference play. I mean, they were getting killed, right? I mean, let's just call it what it was. But a huge win to open last year over Hawaii. You started 3-0, and you capped it at the end, beating Kentucky on the road in Lexington, beating Florida. First win over Florida in Nashville since 1988, Shane. Oh, yeah. They've been playing them every other year there. Most wins for the Commodores, Shane, since 2018 last year. And they lost to Missouri by 3 points on the road. Had they won that game, Shane, Vanderbilt would be going to a bowl game last year. So, I mean, just an incredible job, Clark Lea, in year 2, 7-17 overall as Vanderbilt's head coach. And I think the story, Shane, is just each year under him, the team seems to be getting stronger by the end of the year. And they're going to need that because the schedule upcoming is pretty tough at the end of the year. But there's a real opportunity to gain some momentum with this team early and finally punch that ticket to the postseason. And I think this is the year they do it.
And I thought this would be the year, Mike. I really did. I thought last year was kind of a surprise, beating Florida, beating Kentucky. But what I loved about it was just that raw emotion. I'll never forget them pulling Coach Lea there after. I mean, he's crying. He's so emotional, thinking about everything these boys went through. That's what they're creating, man. And that's what that program has to have. They've got to have each other's back. They can't be a room. It's not like Bama when you got a whole bunch of 5-stars running around and these guys could be in the NFL. No, you got a whole bunch of dudes in here that are out for each other. And to do that is why you can never just pencil an easy victory anymore with Vanderbilt.
Right. And how about this, Shane? Returning production for the Commodores, 16 returning starters for Vanderbilt. I don't think enough people are paying attention here. 56.6% of the passing yards are back with A.J. Swan. That number would have been a lot higher had he not gotten hurt. He threw for over 1,200 yards last year as a true freshman in the SEC. Here's where they're kind of in trouble, though, Shane. Rushing, only 14% is back. Patrick Smith, 151 yards. That's leading returner, 150 yards. I mean, most backs in this league get that in a game. Receiving, though, Shane, 79% of the production is back. Top 3 pass catchers. Will Shepard, hell of a player, 776 receiving yards last year. And the offensive line, Shane, 4 starters back with 77 starts. I think Vanderbilt's offense, they're not going to be Tennessee last year or anything, but they're going to be able to keep up with folks. And this is the unit that if they make the postseason, it's going to be because of them.
Yeah, your continuity. I think that's the key here. And, yes, we lost a running back over a stupid situation. But, I love Ray, but I think that this offensive line was part of the reason they were so successful running the ball. And having those guys back, I think that's pivotal. I love A.J. Swan. We'll talk about him here a little bit in a minute. But I just think if you were bringing pieces back, these are exactly what you want. Running back is big and important, but I would rather have offensive line, quarterback, and receivers,
Exactly. So as for the transfer portal, Shane, Vanderbilt hit, kind of hard via the transfer portal, lost 11 guys.
Yeah.
About half of them went to lower levels, so those were not losses, but some of the guys they lost, you already mentioned it, Ray Davis to Kentucky, that's a big blow. He was the best player on the team, I thought, the last couple of years. Elijah McAllister now at Auburn. We talked about him on the last episode. He's already representing Auburn at media days to give you an indication of what a loss that is. Mike Wright, the quarterback who led them to those wins in the SEC last year, he's now at Mississippi State. And then Jadaeus Richard, who's now at Miami, he was pegged to be a starting corner for the Commodores. So that's a pretty tough blow. Those are the 4 guys that I think they're really going to miss this fall.
Yeah, and you always worry about when you're talking transfer portals, Vanderbilt losing guys. So, yeah, we did lose some. I think it could have been worse, though. I mean, you mentioned Shepard, you mentioned Swan. I mean, some of these guys could have left, but they're sticking around. And I think that has more to do with the culture that Lee's creating there.
Right, and where they really need to shore things up is on the defense, Shane, and this is where they're getting guys out of the portal. Aeneas DeCosmo from Stanford, Shane. If you come in and you're a defensive lineman as a transfer and they give you number 0, you know he's a player there. Former 4-star, 26 tackles last year, 2.5 tackles for loss, played in all 12 games for Stanford. Linebacker Prince Cawley from Notre Dame, 4-star recruit. He recruited to Notre Dame by Clark Lea, so you know the connection there's got to be pretty strong. Another Stanford defensive lineman, Jacob Catoni, a tight end, Chris Boyle from Brown, and then kicker from Kansas, Jacob Borselia. That's your main transfers in. Also, Michigan State transfer linebacker Carson Castile. So again, it's almost primarily all defensive players trying to get that unit up to speed quickly.
Yeah, man. Brown, Stanford, all these smart bastards over there in Nashville.
Now, they signed the number 52 recruiting class, last in the SEC, but I don't know how many of these guys are going to make a big-time impact aside from the running backs. They did sign an elite kicker as well. Number 49 corner, Martrell Height. The number 50 running back, Cedric Alexander, who looked like the best running back on the team, in my opinion, in the spring. The number 51 running back, A.J. Newberry. Number 65 tight end, Josh Palmer. And then how about this, Shay? Number 4 kicker. Come on, we need a kicker here. Brock Taylor. That's kind of the highlights of the recruiting class. But Vanderbilt is, they're clearly, Shane, they're recruit and develop. That's going to be the mantra of this program. They're not trying to sign guys and have them start in the SEC year 1. They're hoping these guys by year 2, year 3 are making huge impacts for the team.
It kind of reminds me of Stoops when he went up there at Kentucky. That's exactly what they had to do. And then now look at them, top 25 programs, 10-win seasons. So It takes a while. But there's a reason they hired Coach. Here he's alumni. He knows what it takes to win at Vanderbilt. So again, it's slow. It's not sexy, but 4 or 5 years from now, what does this program look like? I think it looks a million times better.
Right, and I said, Shane, 16 returning starters, but also 28 seniors on this roster. So this is the most veteran team that Clark Lea has had yet in year 3 there in Nashville. Let's rank the offensive position groups. And you already know where I'm going, Shane. Quarterback, leading the way, A.J. Swan. First career start, Shane, on the road against Northern Illinois. Vanderbilt was an underdog. He threw for 255 passing yards, 4 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. He's a star in the making. Ken Seals is back. Seems like he's been there forever. Drew Dickey, who was ESPN rated him as a 4-star prospect, and Walter Taylor, who on 3 had as a 4-star prospect. Pretty solid quarterback room here for the Commodores.
Yeah, again, I think people sleeping on Swan. This is a household name. And Vanderbilt does this every 10 years. A dude comes through, and then all of a sudden you're like, hey man, this guy could play on Sundays. Because I really do think he's got the attributes to do so. But like you said, I like Seals. I think here's another kid that was battling for that starting position. So with Swan's injuries last year, it's always nice to have a reliable backup, and I think they got one here with Seals.
Mm-hmm. Next, I got the receivers, Shane, and the only problem with the receivers, we're lacking some depth, I feel like, but we got an outstanding trio here. Will Shepard caught the game-winning touchdown against Kentucky. Jaden McGowan, fastest player on the team. Quincy Skinner, all back, your top 3 pass catchers. Gamarion Carter is also back. He was, I think, 5th or 6th in receiving. But then there's a drop-off, Shane, but they signed some freshmen, Landon Humphreys, Junior Sherrill, and Deron Parrish. So if they were a little bit deeper, I probably will put this group number 1 because I like the 3 trio guys we got up top, but behind them is kind of a question mark. That's a little bit of a concern for me.
Yeah, but big-time players, man.
Yeah.
I mean, It's been a while since Vanderbilt had 3 good options out there. So I think this is a very strong room. Some of these younger guys probably going to need to step up. Like you said, they got some uniqueness to them, which I think is cool too. It's not just the same body, same style, but man, those top 3 are, I mean, they could play at any program.
Mm-hmm. Next, I got the offensive line, Shane, and again, returning 77 starters. Starts among that offensive line. All these guys are juniors or seniors, Shane, and they allowed just 15 sacks last year. Left tackle Gunnar Hansen, left guard Delphin Xavier Castillo, center Julian Hernandez, he's the best one. Brady Ashmore at right guard. So they just need to find a right tackle, and they got Junior Usby, who he's got 5 career starts under his belt. I think they got a solid starting unit here. The only problem was, I mean, at times, the reason we love Ray Davis, Shane, because at times he had nowhere to run the ball, yet he was still getting it done. So just because you bring everybody back doesn't mean you're bringing back an elite offensive line. This unit does have a ways to go, but I would take experience over on the offensive line just about at any other position. You know what?
Yeah, experience is important. It's not everything, but like you said, it's something that you can build on. This is a growing program, so there's going to be some other names that are going to pop up. Some of the guys they brought in last year maybe put some weight on. So, we're going to see some more rotation up front, and I think that's the key here with this offensive line is that you've finally got a few more bodies to put in that rotation.
Mm-hmm. So next I got the running backs, Shane. Again, big question mark, but at least we got some depth here. Patrick Smith, Chase Gillespie, Dylan Bates-Polly, and then the 2 freshmen, Cedric Alexander, A.J. Newberry. Out of 5 guys, and I'm looking right at you, Cedric Alexander, true freshman. I mean, we got to find someone that can carry the rock, and you're going to need to have many guys do it in the SEC.
Yeah, you think any of those guys 3 down back, like Ray?
I mean, one guy that they really liked 2 years ago was Patrick Smith, but he took a step back last year. So, honestly, no, I don't. I think it's going to have to be by committee.
Yeah. Okay. Well, the system. I mean, sometimes it's a system thing too. And again, I'm not trying to pull from what Ray did, but they put him in good position. They put him, and I think if you can get Swan, keep him healthy, and keep that pressure, because a lot of times Ray was hitting 8 in the box and still able to move forward sometimes, but it's a little bit easier when you got to give these boys respect on the outside.
And Shane, it wouldn't be a fall preview if I didn't put the tight ends last here. Cole Spence, he's been productive, but that's about it, Shane. Freshman Cameron Johnson behind him and Chris Boyle, the transfer from Brown, but we lost our top 2 tight ends to eligibility. So big question mark there is also the tight end for Vanderbilt. Now, how about the defense, Shane? 9 possible senior starters. Again, you love that. If you're looking for a unit to turn the corner this fall, year 3 under Clark Lea, I'm putting linebackers first here for the Commodores. Shane, C.J. Taylor, maybe the best player on the team. 2 fumble recovery touchdowns last year, 1 against Kentucky, 1 against Florida. So, I mean, we can credit this young man for those 2 SEC wins, essentially. C.J. Taylor, Ethan Barr's back, 164 career tackles, started the last 2 seasons. Kane Patterson's back, the Clemson transfer. His younger brother, Lanston Patterson, is also there. Bryce Cowan, and then that transfer from Notre Dame, Prince Colley, and then also the Michigan State transfer, Carson Castile, and one of our highest-rated signees, Ethan Crisp, the true freshman. This is the most talent, I think, that we lost Anthony Orji. So, that's a blow, but I think it's the deepest we've been at linebacker under Clark Lea.
Golly, the oldest. 9 seniors. I'd be curious what the average age is of this defense compared to some of these other programs. These boys are meeting at Hardee's in the morning talking about high school football, ain't they, Mike?
I think the only ones that match them is maybe BYU. You know what?
That's right.
Next, I got the defensive backs. We got some productive guys here too, Shane. Jalen Mahoney, 35 career starts. DeRicky Wright and B.J. Anderson, they've all started games. Marlon Sewell, Alan Wright and John Housey are back as well. A quality group of defensive backs here. Need to take that step forward. I mean, they've been abused at times, but that's why I can't put them any higher than second.
Yeah, no, and I guess we'll get to camp questions, but we need help, brother. Right. We need help in that room, and we need some dudes to step up. And it's like, development's. You can't teach speed. You know what I'm saying? It's like you're only as fast. So I'm kind of curious what other names pop up here. You mentioned some of them on the tail end there. You're going to need somebody to step up and help that room.
Mm-hmm. So last I got the defensive line, Shane. Nate Clifton's back. He's got 25 starts under his belt. Christian James and Davion Davis. They're all fifth-year seniors. Love to see that experience on the line of scrimmage. And then how about some of these young guys? Shane, Devin Lee's back. And then Darren Agu, he's a true sophomore. He picked Vanderbilt over Tennessee. He's a highly rated guy. And I saved the best for the last, Shane, just for you. Julian, no idea how to say this. Uateri, he's German, 6'7", 305 pounds. Come on now, you ain't running on that madman there in Nashville.
That's right. You got to stick him right in the middle. You remember Tennessee had that? What was that big old boy's name? You remember who I'm talking about?
Yeah, Daniel
the Mountain.
Daniels McCluster, something like that.
He ended up going to I think Pittsburgh or something like that. But you just need that big boy to just sit up there and chew up a couple of blocks. That's it.
Yeah.
I don't need you to tackle quarterback. I need you to take up 3 of these linemen up front.
Yep. Now, at kicker, we got a little bit of a question mark here as well, Shane. It was rough in the spring. We added the Kansas transfer, Jacob Borsilia. We got the walk-on Will Ferris, who kicked in the spring. And then the top recruit, Brock Taylor. So, hey, at least we got 3 options there. We got to find a suitable kicker there. But we got one of the best punters in the SEC, Shane. And where's he from?
Australia.
Matthew Hayball. Shane averaged 45 yards per punt, and he's a lefty, Shane. And I don't know what it is. I've heard Bill Belichick, he only wants left-footed punters because apparently the rotation's all wonky and it's hard to catch. So they got that going for him too.
All right, man. Well, you learn something every day on that SEC podcast.
All right, so the top 10 Commodores, Shane, as ranked on the NCAA video game. Give me linebacker C.J. Taylor, 92 overall. Receiver Will Shepard, give me a 91 for him. Jayan Mahoney, the safety, 89. Ethan Barr, the linebacker, 88. Your boy A.J. Swan, 87, the quarterback. Will be higher, but he's just a true sophomore. 85 for receiver Jaden McGowan. 84 for safety DeRicky Wright. That punter, come on, 83, Matthew Hayball. 81 for center Julian Hernandez. And then 80 for right guard Bradley Ashmore. So a little mix of a lot of different positions here, but gives you an idea of where the best players on the Commodores are this fall.
Oh, yeah.
So biggest camp question, Shay, for me, and I hate to keep, we've mentioned this guy's name about half a dozen times. He's not even on the team anymore. But who steps up after losing Ray Davis? I think that's critical for the Commodores. Does this defense take that next step? Because, frankly, Shane, I was expecting more from a Clark Lea defense, but I think that says more about what he inherited and trying to build that thing back up. But in year 3, that's no longer an excuse, not with 9 senior starters and all these seniors. So they don't have to be dominant, but they have to be able to stop some people, I think. And just which young players are ready to contribute if need be, I think that's a real question mark for the Vanderbilt Commodores.
Yeah, kind of piggybacking off that, Mike. On the offensive side, I'm looking for a playmaker. We talked about Ray, but don't forget Mike. Mike Wright won a lot of games last year with the explosive plays. He's a hell of a runner. Yeah. And how do they get that this year? Who's the dude that steps up and kind of gives them that home run hit? So that on the offense, defense. Easy for me, man. It's the defensive backs. A lot of returning talent, but again, like we said, that doesn't always mean anything. We need some dudes that can compete in the SEC, that can stop, because they play a lot. We're going to get in their schedule here in a minute. They're going to face some dudes, and they can't be taking the top off the defense like they did last year.
Yeah, speaking of Mike Wright and that Hawaii, Shane, I just having flashbacks of him just running wild on those damn.
Dude, we crowned him after that one, didn't we? John left at halftime. He's like, I'm not sticking around for this bloodbath.
All right, Shane, it's time to break down the schedule like we always do. Win, loss, or toss-up for each game on the Commodores schedule. And as always, we have to say it time and time again, we're doing this as Vanderbilt homers. So bear with me here, Shane. Games that I think Vanderbilt fans expect to win right out the gate. First 4 games of the season. I mean, we could go on a heater here, Shane. Hawaii at home. Yep. Alabama A&M at home. Mm-hmm. At Wake Forest, tricky, but they lost their quarterback. Also lost some key pieces. I think it's a little revenge factor here.
Yep.
At UNLV, it's a long trip, but they're under a new head coach, Barry Odom, as well. So obviously a rebuild at UNLV. I think it's safe to assume Vanderbilt fans anticipate a 4-0 start to the season. Do you disagree with any of those?
No, I agree with you here, man. I mean, I would love to see UNLV at home. Wake Forest, I don't think is going to be as good as the last time they met. So, yeah, I think we got 4 wins here, Mike, right out of the gate, which is important if you like to gamble, because Vanderbilt's over-under is pretty damn low this year. I think, what was it, 2.5, something like that?
Yeah, I think it's been bet up to 3.5, but still.
Still, you open up the season with these 4 wins. Guess what? You win. So I really like them as on the gambling side here. But yeah, 4 wins right out of the gate.
Now, any of these other games, we'll get to all of them here. But any that you would change to should be a win for the Commodores? I'm just curious.
No, none of them. I think. I mean, Vanderbilt's going to have to fight just like they did last year. They're going to have to keep doing it year in, year out. So,
okay.
Yeah, a lot of tosses and losses here.
Yeah, so I got a lot of toss-ups here, Shane. And remember, I'm doing this as a Commodore homer. So, I mean, people are already they're typing right now, Shane. They're so damn mad when they're looking at this graphic. But
how can you have
Kentucky, first SEC game of the year. It's at home. You beat them. Yes, Kentucky will, they will be wanting to prove something. They got Ray Davis, who's still your best player. So I understand. If Kentucky wins this game, it's not the end of the world. But it feels like it'd be a step backwards, Shane, for Vanderbilt. If you lose at home, you're 4-0, team you beat on the road last year. Again, it's not the end of the world, but this is what I'm circling, where if you're going to make a bowl game, it's almost a must-win for Vanderbilt. I'm not ready to go quite that far, but it's close. So that's kind of why I have a toss-up. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, no, and perfect sense. And I like it because if you do catch those 4 wins, a team like Kentucky, you typically would put a loss here, but you're building momentum. The guys that we're picking up, some of those question marks are answered. So it's at home. So, yeah, I like a toss here.
Now, bear with me here, Shane, because I know you love the Missouri Tigers, and I'm not saying you're wrong. Not saying you're wrong. But it was a 3-point game last year on the road in Columbia. And here's the critical factor why I said this is a toss-up, Shane. Mizzou, this will be a week before LSU, Shane, with the game that Shane, anytime I post about LSU these days, I got Missouri fans in my mentions like, they're losing in Cobo. You know what I mean? So you got to hope the team does not get caught off guard looking ahead to LSU. I think that's a real factor. And who knows, Shane? I mean, if Kansas State whoops Missouri, the wheels could start coming off this thing. So, yes, I would tend to favor Missouri until Vanderbilt actually beats them. But I think given how close the game was last year and all those other factors, I could see conceivable that Vanderbilt wins this. So I have that as a toss as well.
Yeah, I mean, again, as a homer, you're thinking Swan takes that sophomore step, that these receivers, that we get a few, I don't know, sneaky touchdowns, that this defense, this old-ass defense comes together and keeps the score down so that we can just outscore them. So, yeah, when you look at a team like Mizzou, you're not as threatened as it were if it was a Georgia game or an Alabama game.
Right. And then the next one, Shane, at Florida, again, I get it. Florida's dominated you. Of course, you beat them last year. This is essentially a must-win for Billy Napier and company. But what happens, Shane, if the wheels fall off and Florida has lost to Utah, Tennessee, Kentucky? Those are all games before this one. So, yes, I lean towards Florida to get the revenge, particularly at home. But, again, if the wheels come off here and Vanderbilt's got some momentum, there's no reason to think that it's inconceivable that they could win this game too. Would you agree with that?
I would agree with that. I mean, they beat them last year. I think the big one, you kind of mentioned to it, they got Kentucky the week before. That's always an emotional fought game. And if they lose that one, how does that carry over? Because, again, Vanderbilt's always a team that you expect to win until you're not. And, Florida's got this penciled in as a homecoming, maybe a revenge game, but I always liked growing up when you were at somebody's homecoming and you beat them, so maybe there's just a little extra juice coming from them Commodores in this one.
Yep. The next toss I got, Shane, Auburn at home. And I know we just previewed Auburn. Hell, I picked Auburn to beat Alabama. So,
yeah,
if it's that Auburn, yeah, they're going to kill you. I'll be honest with you. But who knows, man? I mean, how many times have we been wrong about a coach and a program and all this change and who, they got Georgia, they got A&M, they got Arkansas, they got all these teams. The losses could be piling up. It could be an incredibly difficult debut, and there have been coaches, Shane, that come in with more fanfare than this and failed to deliver. So, it's going to take a lot of breaks going your way, and it would take a lot of breaks going wrong for Auburn. But that's kind of why I have the toss-up here.
Yeah, and with good reason here. Because Auburn has a lot of question marks. Believe it or not, Vanderbilt has less question marks than Auburn does. So we don't know exactly what that's going to look like November 4th when these guys meet. So I have no problem putting a toss. We did the Auburn show and we did it optimistically, but there's also that other side. Like, what if it doesn't come together? What if this is a couple of years to get back? So if that's the case, you may be finding your first SEC victory here.
Right, and the last toss-up, this is what I'm going to catch the most heat about, Shane. On the road at South Carolina, hell, a place you should have won last time. They needed a 2-minute drive as the game closed. They had to score a touchdown to win by 3. They did it, but they should have been a Vanderbilt win. For whatever reason, Vanderbilt and South Carolina have played a lot of tight ball games here. South Carolina's got one of the toughest schedules in the country. They could be a 5-6 loss team at this point in time. This is before they got to play Clemson the week before. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, this feels like a classic trap game that nobody sees coming. Again, I'm not sitting here saying you should win it because it is on the road. They'll have a lot to play for, but I don't know, Shane. I think it's a toss-up.
It's close, man. The thing about South Carolina, though, it's like you had Jacksonville State the week before. It's like it's at home in Columbia. I could see why you would put this as a loss. But then as a Vanderbilt fan, what if South Carolina's season doesn't go as planned? What if they've got 4 or 5 losses and they're reeling and this place is not rocking like it usually is? So crazier things have happened. Hell, it seems like it was just yesterday. I mean, you were sitting at that Tennessee Ole Miss game. We got that announcement over the speaker that this was a damn ball game, So it's not like Vanderbilt can't play South Carolina close. So
right.
Yeah, this is a sneaky game, but I see why you put it at toss.
Now, so the 3 losses I got, Shane. Georgia at home.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. At Ole Miss and we got 2 weeks to prepare, but still at Tennessee. Do you disagree with any of those should be tosses?
No. I think, the Ole Miss, it was close at half last year, but no, I'm with you here. This is 3 losses right here.
Yeah. Okay, so let's go through it, Shane, week by week as Vanderbilt homers. I'm trying to find I'm trying to find my way to the postseason, Shane, and it starts with Hawaii. We've got to get off to a great start. They're coaching going into year 2. We're in year 3. We were a mile ahead of them last year. We're going to be 2 miles ahead of them this year. Shay, give me the Commodores. Big win to open week 0. I cannot wait for that game.
Mike, I'm doing the Big Orange walks for this game. You know what I'm saying? Like every day I'm counting down. Everybody's like, they're trying to figure it out because you'll see mine and then you'll see, hey, a week later, this is the kickoff. No, this is the official kickoff for SEC football. So all eyes will be on this game. And I think that's the crucial part here. And that's why I like Vanderbilt to crush those. Are they still Rainbow Warriors? I don't even know if they go by anymore. I think they're just Warriors.
I think they dropped the rainbow.
Well, they should bring them back. I miss those helmets, Mike. Well, maybe not on this game. No, this one you're just going to sneak in, sneak out, you know.
Shay, did you see the Texas guy on Twitter, what he said to you today about your walks?
No.
Well, because he's a Longhorn, right?
Yeah.
So he said, is this what we do in the SEC? We count down to the first SEC game, or do we count down to our team's game? I'm confused. So I just thought that was pretty funny.
I got you. Yeah.
He's trying to get the ways of the SEC down.
Oh, I love it. I can't wait to get them over here. And I was talking to you about this the other day, and it was like, I have no respect for the Big 12. I have no respect for the Pac. I have no respect for any of those guys. You know, I'm all SEC. Mm-hmm. And so when I'm doing these Big Orange walks, it's going to be really tough for me to put some Texas highlights in there, Oklahoma against Baylor. Who gives a shit? You know, it's like the only thing that would go Texas's way is if they beat Alabama this year. Mm-hmm. I will find some way to put at least 4 of them into the Big Orange walks next year, you know. But what you did pre-SEC, it's kind of hard for me to acknowledge.
Yep. All right, so Alabama A&M, I mean, come on, that's a pick your score type game, right?
Oh, wait, where are we at? Oh, yeah, no. Yeah, this is a big one. Again, tune up. 2 home games. You're rolling now. So, yeah, that's an easy win.
Right. And then here's the big one, Shane, Wake Forest on the road. And I say big. I don't not that this is a crucial game or anything, but real opportunity here, I think, to gain some momentum as conference play gets close. They beat us last year, but their star quarterback had like 6 touchdowns, and he's at Notre Dame now. So I am not giving Wake Forest the benefit of the doubt. I'm giving Vanderbilt to take those strides. Give me 3-0 for the Commodores.
Mike, this may be, I think it's a big game. I think it may be the biggest game because, you know, if you're talking about gambling, you're talking about potentially making a bowl game.
Yeah.
You can't afford to slip at another stadium. So Wake Forest is building 2, and they're going to try to put you out. So I think this is a big game, and I like the Commodores here. Give me 3-0.
Mm-hmm. Now, UNLV, Shane, maybe if they were in year 2, year 3, year 4 of their rebuild, maybe I'd be a little bit more concerned. But year 1, Vanderbilt, you're multiple seasons ahead of the progress there. Going across the country is always kind of interesting. Hopefully, I haven't looked up the elevation. That's what we always got to do with SEC country. We're going out west, but I'm pretty sure Nevada's not that high. So give me the Commodores to go 4-0 to start the season.
That's right. Is Petrino coach here?
No, he was for about a week.
Yeah. Well, thank God he left because that's why I've got Vanderbilt winning.
Yep. All right. So here's a big one, Shane. Conference opener. Kentucky comes to town. Beat them last year. They're going to have revenge on the mind, and I think that's kind of why I'm giving Kentucky the edge here, Shane, because I don't think Mark Stoops. I'm not saying he's on any kind of hot seat or anything, but my God, if he lost to Vanderbilt 2 years in a row, the whispers of that is going to start coming very, very real in Lexington. So I think this game's personal for the Kentucky Wildcats. I think they beat Vanderbilt.
Yeah, and again, momentum here. If you are 4-0, I think. I mean, you want to sneak up like you did last year. You snuck up. You got Kentucky. You snuck up. You got Florida. But like you said, you put them on the radar when you do that. Stoops remembers this. It's an embarrassment. It's an embarrassing loss for that program last year, and it's still got a bad taste in his mouth. So Kentucky ain't going to be overlooking you this time. So, unfortunately, I got them getting their first loss here against UK.
Yeah. So the following week, Shane, I think this will be a big one. Missouri comes to town. And yes, we love Missouri. The defense and Coach Drink has got a crazy mouth. I love it. But you know what I don't love, Shane, is
What?
him losing to Vanderbilt. Give me the Commodores to swing it back. And I think this is a game they have circled. Like you were saying with that Wake Forest one. If they want to make a bowl game, I think beat either Kentucky or Missouri. And I think Missouri is more realistic. I think they have to win one of these. So, I mean, this is almost like the Super Bowl.
Yeah, and I like you said, I feel like they have to as well. And when I'm looking at Vanderbilt, the only downside, brother, is you're going against one of the toughest secondaries in the country, and I think that's what Vanderbilt's going to need to win some of these SEC games. They're going to have to find somebody that's vulnerable in that secondary, and that's the kicker here. Years past, maybe you got Mizzou, but yes, maybe I've been drinking the Kool-Aid too long, but I got another loss here for the Vanderbilt Commodores.
Yeah, I think that's understandable. All right, the following week, Shane, at Florida.
Yeah.
You could probably end Billy Napier right here if you beat the Gators 2 years in a row and you do it in the swamp. I think this game's going to be personal for the Florida Gators. They just, I mean, they probably have heard about this damn game every day since it happened. So I just think it's too much to go down to Gainesville and expect to win. It's, in my mind, again, if things crater wrong for Florida, maybe you catch them off guard. You should go down there with hopes to win the game. But give me the Gators in this one.
Man, I think about that time, Dan and he was yelling at Mason, and they were just getting back and forth. I think that would be awesome. Who do you think would win? Billy and that'd be a hell of a fight, brother. That may be the best fight in the SEC. Those two guys go.
Well, yeah, give me Clark Lea though. I mean, walk on fullback.
Yeah.
I mean, come on now.
Yeah. God, I'd pay to see that. I think this is going to be a close game, Mike. I really do. I think it's going to come down the wire. I don't even take the homerism off. I just think Florida expects to win. They lost last year, but they still expect to win. And Vanderbilt, maybe they're not as scared of Florida as they have been in years past because they took it to them. So
right.
I think this is going to be a sneaky good game here. I'm sorry. I'm trying to be optimistic here. I just cannot give Vanderbilt the nod. So Florida, barely.
Yeah. Now the following week's going to be tough, Shane. Georgia comes to town, and when they come, they don't just bring your football team, Shane. They bring all the fans. So this is almost like a home game for them Georgia Bulldogs. Might have to go down there and drink on Broadway with some of them dogs that come up to Nashville, Shane. So I mean, they can win by 100 points. I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, and Kirby's just like that. No days off, no overlooking. This is going to be a big. At least you got a bye week next week. You can heal up a little bit.
Yeah. So at Ole Miss, this will be a tough game, like you said. Gave them some fight last year, and I think that pissed them off, and they just throttled you in the second half. I think Ole Miss is going to be really good this year. Lane Kiffin is not going to overlook Vanderbilt. Give me Ole Miss in this one.
Could be a fun game though. Could be a little bit of a shootout, and that's what I like. I just think Ole Miss has got too much firepower, so I'm with you here.
Right.
Another loss for Vanderbilt.
Now, Shane, what is the beauty? We captured this on the last episode. Go back and check it out if you missed it. But Hugh Freeze, he'll pull off a miracle upset. He'll win the Iron Bowl. He wins games like that. Then he turns around and he drops games he shouldn't, Shay. This is the stutter here. Give me the Commodores to punch that ticket, get that 6th win, go into a bowl game. I just think this will mean everything in the world. Auburn may even be on a heater here, Shane, but I think they'll overlook Vanderbilt. Give me the Commodores.
And that's it, Mike. I feel like Vanderbilt's going to sneak up and punch a couple of these in the mouth. I'm looking at all these tosses. They're not shoe-ins by no means. So
right.
Who do they drop one to? Who do they win? I'm probably wrong, but I'm with you here, man. I think they upset old Auburn Tiger. War Damn Eagles going down. Got them at home. I think the timing's perfect. You've been suffering a slew of losses, but that's one thing about this Coach Lea team is they don't quit, man. There's no quit in this team. These boys are going to fight. They're going to grind. You're going to get the best football you can out of them, and if you come ill-prepared, you're going to lose, and I think that's what happens here. So give me a victory for the Vanderbilt Commodores.
Now, how about the next week, Shane? On the road at South Carolina, incredibly hostile environment. You got to hope that it's a nooner. I mean, that's the best case scenario when everybody's got a trip down there to Columbia, because we all know what that place is like at night. So that may be in your favor, Shane. This probably will be a nooner type ball game, but I still think South Carolina will be too strong at home against the Commodores. So give me the Gamecocks here.
Yeah, if I were picking another toss to possibly win, I would have picked Vanderbilt if it weren't in Columbia. But like you said, I like the secondary. I think it's going to be a hell of a matchup. What Spencer Rattler shows up? I mean, again, we don't know that. We may. I mean, this team could be imploding. I'm not saying that's happening. I mean, they'd be on a heater, but they may, worst case scenario, just be defeated. And if that's the case, man, sneaking up to a Clemson game, maybe Vanderbilt sneaks up and gets them a victory here. So I think this is close if that's the case, but I still think there's a little too much firepower over in South Carolina. It's tough. It's a tough place to play. So give me a win for South Carolina.
Now, how about the finale, Shane? Vanderbilt will have 2 weeks to prepare against their biggest rival. I don't even think they say Tennessee. They say that orange team up there on Rocky Top. 2 weeks to prepare, like I said. Give me the upset. Vanderbilt against the spread. Tennessee wins it.
Yeah. There was a bunch of us last year that gave pause after that South Carolina ass kicking they had last year. Like, hey, I mean, we got Joe Milton now. What does this program look like? Does Vanderbilt sneak up? They've already knocked off 2 SEC teams, but too much. Too many weapons on that program. They still got them. They got more of them. They're too fast. This offense is just too tough. Now, crazier things have happened. And it, again, kind of like I was saying with South Carolina, if Tennessee's schedule didn't go as planned, you may have a defeated program. How does that locker room look? Again, that's what Vanderbilt's going to catch. I think right now it's so hard to predict because we don't know what these other teams are going to do. Vanderbilt, you're going to get Vanderbilt football every single week. So if you come in like Tennessee did with South Carolina last year, well, then Vanderbilt's going to walk away with a victory. So, but as of right now, there's no way I'm picking Vanderbilt to beat Tennessee. So Vanderbilt with their last loss of the season here.
Yeah. Well, if they
get 5 wins. I know that sounds nobody's hanging banners for 5 wins, but again, I do think it's progress. I think there's a chance for 6 wins and get into a bowl. I think that's the ultimate goal here for Coach Lea.
Right.
And they're right there. They're right there on the edge.
Yeah. Well, Shane, that's going to do it for our fall camp preview series. First time we've actually went through all the teams. How about it?
Yeah, we did it this time.
And then next year we'll get 2 more to add to the collection. So, hey, back to, well, not quite regularly scheduled programming because we got SEC Media Days right around the corner. Don't forget Bearded Iris, 3 to 6, Saturday, July 15th. But you got anything else, brother, before we hop off the line?
No, just looking forward to seeing everybody. And again, if you've not got on YouTube yet, hit the subscribe button, get those notifications turned on because when we get to Media Days, we're going to be cranking it. And every time we go live, you'll get the feed instantaneously. And and there's no filter, man. There's no edit. So this is going to be wild. It's going to be there'll be interaction. So if you want to get on there and you want to ask me or Mike questions or anything like that, we're here at Media Days, but we're here with you. If there's, I'd like to poll the audience and say, hey, if we got Sam, what's the question you would want us to ask? If we've got Heupel, if we've got Shane Beamer, if Nick Saban, scrolls, he may not because he's mad at Mike, but if he comes over to the table and says, sits down with us for a little bit, what would you want us to ask? So when Mike puts this show out tomorrow, put those questions in there because, again, we'll file it away and be sure to include if it's good enough.
Yeah, I'd love to interview Nick Saban and say, this comes from Bubba down in Jasper, Alabama.
Yeah, he'd love that, wouldn't he? He may just get up and walk away.
All right, buddy. Well, that's going to do it for this episode. I appreciate you as always. I appreciate each and every one of you for tuning in. We'll catch you on the next one.
All right, see you guys. Anchor down.